Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of College Hack. Today, we are speaking with a guy named Avi who graduated from Thomas Edison State University with 119 credits in alternative, forms of credit. Then he took one class at Thomas Edison and graduated. Now, the rules have changed. You can't quite do that anymore, but he has been through this college hacking process on his own. He's gone through this process. He knows what it's all about. And now, Avi, you're studying to be a lawyer, right?
Yes, I am.
Tell me a little bit about your story here. Why did you want to go about college the way you did?
When I was in high school and other forms like that in grade school, I still have a really bad learning disability that impacts my ability to successfully learn in a classroom setting. Once I graduated high school, I thought that college was not going to happen because of the issues of going to a formal classroom setting that existed in high school. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that does not require a college degree or even really a high school diploma. So I decided to not pursue it. But then I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm very cynical about all the litigation going on, and I want to be able to defend the business that I run.
And so you decided, hey, I'll go to college, but I need to find a new way to do it, and then I'll be able to go to law school.
Yeah. I mean, the way law school admissions works in general, there are no prerequisites that one must take to go to law school. Everything that you need to know for law school, they will teach you in law school. So basically, as long as it's from a regionally accredited school, which Thomas Edison is, and as long as I do really well on the LSAT, I'm good to go for law school admissions. Initially, my proposal was to hire a bunch of tutors to reteach me the curriculum taught in class, but that would be very cost effective and unaffordable. I knew there was a way to then I found out that there's a way to test out of my entire bachelor's degree for the most part, because if I'm going to not really get much value out of the classroom instruction because of my learning disability, why would I want to pay for these classes that I'm not going to get any value out of? Yeah, I'd rather just pay for the exam. Instead of having to pay twice, I only have to pay once.
And even pay less, because I'm sure the cost of tuition plus tutors just dwarfs the cost of CLEP exams.
Yes, CLEP exams at the time that I took them were approximately $100.
Yeah, and so you decided, hey, here's Thomas Edison. I'm going to figure out which CLEP exams and which DSSTs will help me knock out this degree. And you had to take a ton of CLEP and DSSTs. Like, what is that, like 30 different exams probably?
30 to 40.
30 to 40?
Something
Wow.
along. I don't have an exact number. I would say it's around 30 to 40.
So what was your study strategy? Because I'm sure after taking 30 to 40 different tests, you probably had kind of a rhythm and a flow to it.
For the non-math exams, generally what I would do is for a CLEP or a DSST, I would want to purchase a practice exam book that can contain multiple choice questions for all of their exams. You can go to eBay or Thrift Books or pay like $5 for an edition that's 3 years old, and then that'll be fine.
Yeah, one we talk about on the channel a lot are the REA textbooks.
I was a big fan of the multiple choice question approach. I would have a couple tutors they would help with US History 1 and US History 2. They know some micro and macroeconomics, and they can kind of jump around. So that's a trick with multiple choice, that the answer is in front of you. And a lot of times, other questions in the exam and the multiple choice answers can jive my memory. Thomas Edison and most schools transfer those as pass-fail. For purposes of transferring them into the school and having a good GPA, it won't matter whether you just barely pass the exam or whether you got every single question correct.
True that.
If one is majoring in their subject and they want to take classes that build on these 101 classes or use it as part of their career or whatnot, this might not be the best approach, because there's a difference between passing one of these exams and knowing the material cold.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that real quick. A lot of people will question the legitimacy of a CLEP exam because they say, hey, it only took so-and-so like a week to study for it, and they passed a college level class that should have taken 16 weeks. That's not fair. And the thing I always like to say is like, hey, have you ever been in a college classroom? These CLEP exams are designed so that somebody with a C's worth of knowledge, somebody who would get a C in a final exam in the actual class, would pass the CLEP exam. You know how hard people work to get C's in college? They don't. They don't work hard at all. They just kind of BS their way through and show up to classes when they feel like it, and they get C's. And at the end of the day, that's all we need to be able to pass a class. College isn't about being perfect at everything. It's about prioritizing, and in this case, taking courses and tests that aren't going to be directly relevant to my career are things that I might choose to deprioritize so that I can focus on the major area courses and things that really matter.
The CLEP exams and the DSST exams, while some people would say it's unfair, they require a slightly different skill set that would not be required if you go to a class. The class may meet Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. They have different homework that is assigned each day. So that gives a lot of structure to a student.
And with CLEP exams, it's completely different, right?
Correct. The CLEP exam is only the exam. You're not going to get any feedback or any kind of insight about where you are, and it's on you to know the material. I would argue that the CLEPs and DSSTs, by someone completing all this, they demonstrate a lot of independence and kind of being able to navigate a lot of hoops. So those would be skills that someone who is in a traditional undergrad program may not have.
Yeah, and may not ever really get much of a chance to develop just because, and obviously college is less structured than high school, and so students are having to learn some of those skills, but you're completely right. It's nothing like taking a CLEP exam where you are assigning yourself the homework, you're assigning yourself the reading. There's nobody holding your hand, watching you, giving you a grade, telling you, hey, you need to hurry up. Hey, you're going too fast.
Yeah. I would also add these prep books, especially the ones for the CLEP. If I were giving anyone recommendations about I mean, most of the people that are on this channel, I would assume, are looking to save some money in college and they don't want to spend any more money than they have to. There's websites like A-Books or Thrift Books where they will sell those books for about $5.
You make some really good points there. Other study resources I'll throw on there that are really good for CLEP. Modernstates.org. Basically, it's free courses, and if you pass the free courses final exam, they'll actually pay for your CLEP test for you. Some people complain about the quality of some of the courses, and so sometimes you do have to supplement even still. They have a very good track record.
I have used Modern States. Unfortunately, I did have an issue getting paid on a couple of them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had to take them to court, unfortunately. If you look at the graph that you have to submit to them with all the different choices and questions right, make sure that you get at least one of those right. I think there might have been a couple of the graphs that were empty. So I think they might have been confused that I didn't complete the course or something.
Nowadays, they operate on a voucher system too. So I think they've updated it and fixed some of those snags. In any case, it is a free study resource. And unless there's some sort of goofy hiccup like what happened to you, there's also a free CLEP test and a free sitting fee along with it.
That's correct. And you reimburse the fee you pay the college.
Yeah. That's awesome. We should go ahead and wrap up here, but I have just two final questions for you. Number one, Thomas Edison, what did you like? What did you not like?
I mean, I don't know if it's so much like or don't like. I was more concerned about the flexibility of the program than I was the cost. At the time that I went to Thomas Edison, they had the most flexible college degree of the three different schools at the time that didn't have the transfer policy. Thomas Edison at the time allowed for a lot of different quote electives that could be filled with pretty much anything.
And I'll just say this, man, just to sort of put a pin in that whole topic, but you and I went to Thomas Edison at the right time, back before they got really strict and a lot pricier.
I think Excelsior, I don't even know if I'm saying the school right. I think they still have lax policies.
They do have lax policies. Even Charter Oak will let you transfer in quite a few courses. And so like their transfer acceptance policies are pretty lax, but they have like other policies in place that make it a little bit harder to hack them, to the point where Thomas Edison for most people is still going to be the right call.
I live in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't a resident of New Jersey at the time that I was going to school there. If you live in New Jersey, their prices are a lot lower. So
yeah. Okay. So you like the flexibility with Thomas Edison. The price per credit, probably even for you, was not that great.
I had to take the Cornerstone class, which is the pass-fail 1 credit, and I had to take the Capstone class, which is the one at the very end. That's a full 3-credit class. I had to pay full tuition for that. Thomas Edison, whether you're doing the CLEP exam or whether you're taking their classes, they don't have professors. They have what they call mentors. People are pretty much on their own at that school. That if you don't know something, you got to figure it out. The professor is not going to. They may not even answer their email.
That is true of like all online schools, though, and residential schools. Now that I think about it, too, professors are notoriously bad at answering email. But you're right; they have a different teaching philosophy, or I guess in this case, mentoring philosophy at Thomas Edison.
I would just say that you're really on your own.
Yeah, it's a good school for an independent learner. But if you're somebody who is constantly going to be asking questions and needing help from folks in the classes you've chosen or in the degree that you're trying to hack or put together, you might run into some troubles there. That is really helpful advice. I really appreciate the perspective on Thomas Edison. And that actually brings me to my last question, which is just if you had to give one big piece of advice or one little piece of advice to everybody watching about hacking college and, building their degree with non-traditional credits, what would the number one piece of advice you would give be?
That's a good question. I think it's like what Clifford said. Hacking college is not for everyone. If you are someone that enjoys being in the classroom and learning that way, getting a lot of rich knowledge, hacking's probably not for you. Hacking the college, I would say it's primarily for people that they really just want to play what I call playing the game.
Yeah.
They're in a job where if they have a piece of paper that says they have a bachelor's degree from somewhere accredited, they're going to get a job promotion. And it doesn't really, and I mean, you just need the piece of paper as quickly, efficiently, and cheaply as possible. But if you're looking to get a rich, well-rounded education, probably go to a brick and mortar school.
Yeah, or like I like to tell people, because I agree with you to an extent. I would say the caveat I would give is that if you want it to be rich and well-rounded, nothing's stopping you from doing that. As you're going through and as you're learning, hiring a tutor, talking to people, getting on message boards, building that sort of liberal arts experience yourself, finding a book club. But the core of what college hacking is, of what alternative credit is not necessarily about going deep. It's about checking the box, right? But the advice I typically give people is, hey, if you want to go deep, if you want to experience the real richness, knock off that bachelor's degree and then go find a master's degree locally. Go to that residentially. In your case, you went to law school. It's something you're passionate about. For me, I knocked out my master's or my bachelor's in English because, I said, I don't want to sit in the classroom for that long, taking all these other classes. I want to be able to get on to work. And I really want to get into a master's degree where people take the subject super seriously. Yeah, sometimes college hacking can be adopted into a rich learning experience if somebody's willing to put the work in. But for a lot of people, it's the path to a rich learning experience, to a really solid master's program.
Could I add something to what you just said?
Yeah, why don't you finish this out?
I tend to be in the category of let's check the box, and especially for my bachelor's degree, where, like I said, law school there's no prerequisites. So
yeah,
it's really just checking the boxes and for undergrad. That's what it was for me. But even though my intention was primarily just let's check the box, I'll admit that I definitely changed and grew as a person through this whole experience. Just by trying to check the box and get a piece of paper and move on with my life. That entire process, it changed me in many different ways. That I became a better thinker.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that's really, really good. The same thing happened to me when I took my 6 classes at Thomas Edison, and they prepared me for my master's, and they changed the way I thought about some things. Avi, it's been really great chatting with you. Thank you for your perspective, for your advice, for your time. I know I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody else who watches this is going to appreciate it too. And we wish you all the best moving forward in your future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody who's watching. Happy hacking.